Today we're going to talk about floor track for sliding door systems and Raydoor's different take on guiding doors. Floor track is a pretty standard item for many companies that offer sliding doors or operable walls, but Raydoor does this differently.
Yeah, in a lot of cases when people want to create spatial flexibility in an interior space, there can be times when a floor track to anchor panels and keep them stable is really important. Like if you're going to have certain tasks, if you're going to use it as a board and you want to slide it anywhere, there's a lot of ways where a floor track can be useful. And more often than not, we find that a floor track adds an extra layer of technical, mechanical potential failure in the system. It can catch dust. It can cause a trip hazard. It can be unsightly. So in general, the innovations that we've pursued at Raydoor have been to make floating space division more stable and more usable in order to better achieve our mission, which is to divide interior spaces in the most beautiful way possible. So we encourage our clients to stay away from floor tracks.
So how is it that so many offerings on the market require floor track and Raydoor does not?
I think it's a combination of a few things. We have a patented system. Our panel is a lightweight composite, sandwiching a lightweight translucent layer in between two structural frames. We also have an integrated guiding system, hardware we developed that allows those panels to stay connected to each other or to the floor, depending on how you set it up. I think it's the panel design and the hardware we've developed that have really allowed us to free designers and end users from having to require a floor track.
Let's talk a little bit about the panel itself. Being patented means you've not only rethought the hardware that comes with it, but also the idea of how to make a door.
Yeah, I think initially, Raydoor's pure inspiration comes from making interior spaces beautiful, flexible, and private. And if you're going to pursue that as your main narrative, I think you really have to take a look at the entire opening. So, when you see a sliding door and you move it out of the way and there's this run, this like groove in the floor or an aluminum in the floor, it's a constant reminder that there's some division there, which is a limiting notion. Like if you're really interested in creating a space that's fully flexible, when you move the panels out of the way, you want that space to live on its own, in its own, and its own without it feeling like it was formally divided. And beyond the fact that there's just so many different things that that can make a floor track a difficult thing to either install or maintain or live with.
So you mentioned the hardware. Let's move to that. Clearly without floor track, there is still something necessary to guide the door. How do you do this with a basic sliding door?
Well, whether it's a single sliding door or if it's a bypassing system, the sandwich permits that we can recess the translucent layer high enough to allow our guide fin to operate. So this 2-inch guide would exist in the threshold of the opening, and you would have this mounted to the floor. Whether it's a bypassing system, it'll always live perfectly in this space of the 3-inch style. So if there's two panels overlapping, they'll overlap perfectly here. You'll have two guides exactly in that space. So you never see the guide, and it's just a perfect little place to hide the guide for our guiding system.
And how do you guide multiple doors?
So when we guide multiple panels, there's something that it's similar to this, but it's shaped like a J, and it's mounted to each sliding panel. And that would ride underneath the adjacent panel. And so that's how we keep multiple panels together. There's also a series of stop plates. The stop plates keep the J hooks, trapped in the channel at the bottom of the door. And that's what allows, when you pull one door, the other door automatically follows it. And the stop plates ensure that the alignment of each panel is such that when you close off the space, the vertical style at 3-inch covers perfectly the next panel's 3-inch style. So you've reduced the amount of frames that you see in the space, which makes things look lighter, cleaner, and that in general is the Raydoor aesthetic. So when we divide spaces using sliding walls, another way we do to stabilize it would be to have each panel has one of these bolts in it. So when you slide that bolt down, this telescopes below the door, And then this is anchored into the floor with a dustproof strike that looks like this. So this dustproof strike would keep it from swaying. Now, you don't need that system for all of our systems, but it's included. So a lot of things that are both, let's say, functional, beautiful and functional are included in our systems. So you don't have to think of little things like, how is it going to not sway, or what do I got to do for this or that? We've got that all included in our system set.
So you still have a floor without a track?
It's our value set that you want to have a clean floor with no floor track on it. Not only is it easier from an installation standpoint, and it's easier from a maintenance standpoint, there's less things that can go wrong, but ultimately, whether you're going to roller skate across the space, or whether you're going to want to throw a rug down or move a table there, when you move the panels out of the way, you're going to have a clean palette from which to create from. And that's why I think we've made such a strong emphasis on making sure we designed a system with no floor tracks.
Great. I don't have any more questions.
Well, thanks. Thanks for your time and asking questions. And it gives me an opportunity to talk about our 20 years of experience, focusing on dividing interior spaces in a beautiful way.